My name is Delilah Carter, and I make cornbread the way my mother taught me, skillet hot. Batter humble. Mercy is a blend of butter and patience. When you cook like that, folks think you're soft. I'm not soft. I am practiced. 3 months after my knee surgery, my son Andre said, "Mama, stay with us while you heal." I packed a small suitcase and a big piece. His wife, Chura, opened the door with a smile that didn't quite make the trip to her eyes. "Of course," she said. "We'll make it work." For 2 weeks I learned their apartment the way you learn a hymn, where it rises, where it breathes. I folded towels, kept my cane quiet, and paid the electric bill because I don't like feeling like a guest in my son's light. When my knee ached at night, I hummed to it. Pain behaves better when it remembers you're old enough to be its mother. The 3rd week, a new vocabulary moved in. Chura started calling my bedroom the spare. She put a sticky note on a shelf. "No snacks in rooms," as if I'd been hoarding brisket under the bed. At dinner she'd set 3 plates, then talk over mine. Andre would squeeze my shoulder like an apology on layaway. One Friday, she came home with bags and a mood. "I'm tired," she announced, keys loud on the counter. "This house is a mess." It wasn't, it was lived in. She lined up the bags like soldiers. "From now on," she said, voice thin and sharp, "if you're staying here, you cook and clean." Or, she smiled the way people do before throwing a match, "Stop eating for free." Andre laughed small, nervous. "Babe, I didn't say a word." I reached for my tea and let the steam do the talking. Silence is a skillet. If you heat it right, truth doesn't stick. Chura wasn't finished. She pointed at the sink as if it owed her rent. "I want the kitchen spotless by morning. Floors, too. And no more long showers. Water isn't free." Andre didn't look at me. He looked at the floor like it was applying for forgiveness. I set my cup down. "May I ask one question?" Chura folded her arms. "What, is this your house?" I asked, steady as a flat note. "Ours," she said, chin high. "We pay the mortgage, do you?" I said. "Good to know what the mailman thinks," she blinked. Andre's hand tightened around his phone like it was a rope. I smiled like Sunday, stood up slow, and reached for my cane. "Well then," I said. "Thank you for your roof. I'll be out of your hair in the morning." Andre started. "Mama, you don't have to." "I know," I said. "I'm choosing." That night I packed my small suitcase with big piece and left it by the door. I slept like an old oak, maybe bent, not broken. When the sun remembered us, I made breakfast the way I always do when a day needs courage: eggs, grits, cornbread. I set 2 plates on the table. Mine stayed on the stove. Ciara walked in, hair wrapped like a crown. She saw the food and smirked. "So you can cook?" "I can," I said. "And I can sign." Before she could ask, I put an envelope on the table. Andre recognized the county seal and sat down because chairs exist for moments like this. "Back when your granddaddy's hands were still strong," I said to Andre. "He put my name on a little house. When he passed, I kept the taxes paid with tips and prayer. Last year, I refinanced and bought a duplex." Chura's smirk got confused. I slid out to documents. "Deed and lease, Unité," I said, tapping the page. "Has a tenant." "Unit B is mine. Furnished. Quiet street, good light. I pay my own water to take long showers if my knees want rain." Chura opened her mouth, then closed it. "So, you're leaving?" "Yes," I said. "Because I do not negotiate for breakfast." Andre went pale. "Mama, why didn't you tell me about the duplex?" "Because I raised you to love me, not measure me," I said. "And because some blessings grow better in quiet." Chura found her voice. "Fine, do what you want. But you can't expect us to." "I don't," I said, gentle. "Expectation is for invoices. Love is a casserole you bring without texting first." I took my suitcase and my big piece. At the door, I turned. "Andre, baby, kiss your wife. Then call me this evening so I can hear you sound like yourself." He nodded. Eyes wet with the boy I remembered. I left the breakfast on the table because forgiveness is edible. By noon, I was in Unit B, windows open, air smelling like walls that hadn't learned anyone's tone yet. I made my bed. I put the deed in the freezer like Grandma taught me. Fireproof is a kind of prayer. At 3. My phone rang. Not Andre, Chura. I let it sing twice, then answered. "Yes." She skipped hello. "The landlord is asking for proof of ownership for the HOA paperwork," she said. Brittle. "They need the deed and your signature because your name is on the common area insurance." "My name is on a lot of things," I said. "What do they need from me?" "A signature," she repeated, slower, like I was very old or very valuable. "Email it," I said. "If it keeps the building safe, I'll sign what's true." She exhaled. "Thank you, and Chura," I added, "this morning you spoke to me like a broom with a heartbeat." "That ends today." Silence. Then, noted. "Good, not love. Not apology." Noted. "It's where some stories begin their repairs." At 5, Andre called. "Mama, I'm sorry, are you?" I said. "About what?" He blew out air. "For laughing. For not interrupting. For letting her talk to you like you were a chore. That's better, I said. Name the thing you did, not the fog you felt. I'll fix it, he said. You too will. I corrected. If you want a marriage, build it with nouns, not vibes. He laughed through his nose the way he did when he was small and blamed the dog. Come to dinner tomorrow. I will, I said. At my place, the next day they came with store-bought pie in awkward hands. I set 3 plates and let my living room do the work. Unity looked like a refuge quilt, a plant that forgave, sunlight that didn't rush. We ate. We breathed. Then I turned to Chura. You're a smart woman, I said. Say what you meant yesterday. But use real words, she swallowed. I felt overwhelmed. The apartment is small. I grew up counting paper towels. When I see more people eating, I see less food. That's a sentence, I said. Now put the blame where it belongs, she glanced at Andre. I was wrong to turn fear into orders. I talk to you like an employee in a kitchen I don't even own. Better, I said. Now, here's my policy. It's only 3 lines. I handed her a note card. Love cooks. Control assigns. Respect is rent you pay in words and choices. If you forget, we pause access until kindness returns. Her eyes got shiny. You wrote that. For me? For me, I said. So, I remember I'm not here to teach by storm. But since you asked, yes. For you, too? Andre reached for her hand. We can do this, he said. We're better than yesterday. I slid a manila folder across the table. This holds a copy of my deed, the HOA forms, my emergency contact, and a spare key. It is not permission to manage me. It is just good housekeeping. Chura nodded. Understood. Now, I said. Who wants coffee? They both did. Mercy tastes better hot. The first week in my new place was quiet on purpose. I learned where the floor sighs and which window likes a breeze. I kept a spare key in the manila folder with the D because keys are cousins of signatures. By Thursday, the piece got a visitor. Text 6:18 p.m. Chura, we're stopping by with friends. Your living room is bigger. Be there in 20. I stared at the screen until the letters got shy. Then I called. Sweetheart, I said. My door is invitation only. Not tonight, I beat. We already told them. Then you'll untell them, I said. You're welcome. Another day when asked and answered, she hung up. The silence after a bad click always tells the truth. Saturday morning I opened my drawer for the folder. The spare key was gone. I did not panic. I boiled water for tea. Panic burns to hot to be useful. At noon, the HOA manager Ms. Rivera called. Mrs. Carter, I received a form requesting your parking spot be reassigned to Unity's guest. It's signed D. Carter. But the penmanship looks young. That's not my hand, I said. Please hold any changes. I'll stop by. When I arrived, Ms. Rivera had the file open and a face that had seen this dance. I showed my ID, the deed, and the folder with the real signature. She sighed with relief. Thank you. We'll decline the change and place a note. Owner must appear in person for all requests. Want to add an access list? Yes, I said. Andre and Chura are family. They may visit with notice. No keys issued without my written approval. No one else parks in my spot, she smiled. Clear makes neighbors. On my way home I stopped at the hardware store. By dinner, I had a new deadbolt and a keypad. I taped a polite card above it. This door opens to respect. Invitations beat assumptions. D. Carter at 7, Andre called. Mama, Chura says you changed the lock. I did, I said. He swallowed. Did you? Did you think we took your key? I don't think, I said. I count. 1 key went missing. Locks got honest. He was quiet. We'll bring it back. I hope so, I said. But the new lock can't take old keys. Sunday afternoon I got the truth. They arrived together, faces careful. Andre set a key on the table. I borrowed the spare, he said. I thought, if we needed to check on you, you thought access was love, I said. It's not. It's just access. Chura shifted. And the parking. I filled the form. I was going to ask you after. That's not asking, I said. That's paper first, permission later, she winced. You're right. Good, I said. Fixing starts faster when the mouth can say it. Andre rubbed his neck. We're new at sharing space, you're new at sharing power, I said. That's a different class. I poured coffee. Mercy works better hot. Now listen, I said. Here's how we'll do this. I held up a resident access sheet I typed the night before, plain paper. Clear lines, keys, 1 set in my possession. No copies. Temporary code given when I invite you. Code changes after the visit. Visits by text the day before. If I say not today, that's a full sentence. Parking, my spot equals my car. Guests use the street or visitor lot. Packages, don't redirect yours here. I'm not a porch. Emergencies, fire, ambulance, or I call you. Not Wi-Fi is slow. Money, if I offer help, it's a gift. Don't schedule my wallet. I slid it across the table. Read it, then sign that you read it. Andre signed first. Chura read slower, lips moving on not today. Then she signed. Thank you, I said. Now let's eat like we're on the same team. I set down chicken and green beans. Peace needs protein. 2 days later, Chura texted, brunch at your place? I replied, not today. Your kitchen will do fine. I'll bring biscuits. I showed up with a warm pan and a cool mood. Their living room looked nervous. Brunch guests always expose a marriage. I set biscuits on the counter and sat where sunlight could see me. Chura cooked eggs like an apology, careful, not showy. Mid-meal she said, I'm going to the office to fix the whole thing. Take a copy of my access sheet, I said. Let the world see our new verbs. She smiled a little. Verbs are hope you can underline. The next stumble arrived in a box. UPS dropped to bulk orders at my door, paper towels and protein shakes addressed to Andre. I snapped a photo and texted, me, delivered to my porch. I'll hold until Thursday. Next time, ship to your place. Andre, yes ma'am. I'll change the default. 10 minutes later he called. We've been using your address because packages are safer. Then you'll be home to receive them. I said, my porch isn't a storage unit. He chuckled softly. You're right. Stop saying I'm right. I told him. Start acting like I'm not your warehouse. He laughed for real that time. Laughter is a hinge that fixes a door. Friday night. The building sent a noise notice. Unit A's cousin had hosted karaoke at midnight. Ms. Rivera CC'd me because I'm the owner. Chura texted before I could. I'm handling it, she wrote. I told my cousin not to come back that late. We'll pay the hoe a fine. Good, I replied. Also no more inviting people to my address without asking. Even family needs a doorbell. She sent one word back. Noted that word again. It's not a hug, but it's a map. The next week I hosted them for dinner on purpose this time. The table had 3 plates, a bowl of salad, and the note card I'd given Chura propped up in a frame. She noticed. You framed it. I framed me, I said. So I don't forget who lives here. After we ate, I brought out a small binder with tabs. Andre groaned. Mama, is this homework? This is piece with paperwork, I said. The tabs read emergency, HOA, house rules, spare code sealed, contacts. I'm putting this in the cabinet by the stove, I said. You'll know where to look if I ask for help. Otherwise, don't open a thing. Chura traced the word house rules with her finger. May I read them out loud? You may, she read. Love cooks. Control assigns. Ask first. If the answer is not today, respect the calendar. Keys does not equal care. Access expires. Love doesn't. If you spend my name, bring a receipt. If you break my peace, you fix it. Apology in action. We meet here to rest, not to rehearse arguments. She swallowed. I like number 6. It likes you back, I said. Andre leaned forward. Can I add one? He took my pen and wrote under the list, 7 son interrupts disrespect even when it's quiet. I kissed his cheek. That looks like growth. 2 Sundays later, they asked to come by to talk. Married people's favorite sentence. They brought pie and nervous shoes. CIA spoke first. I signed up for a budgeting class at church, she said. I don't want to talk to fear like it's the landlord. That's a good sentence, I said. What else? Andre cleared his throat. We want you to keep a copy of our medical directives, and we'll keep yours. Not to manage. Just to be ready. Done, I said. We slipped papers into the binder under emergency. Good families put honesty where the flashlight is. Then Chura slid a small envelope across the table. This is for the HOA fine for my cousin's karaoke. Her voice was calm. We paid its receipt inside and there's a gift card for your hardware store. For the new deadbolt I inspired, I couldn't help it. I laughed. She laughed too, covering her face the way women do when they're surprised by their own kindness. Andre grinned like a boy who finally saw his team. We ate pie. We washed dishes without speeches. Before they left, I handed Chura a sticky note. What's this? She asked. It goes on your fridge, I said. She read it. Help equals yes when asked. Control equals no. Every time, she nodded. Understood. At the door, Andre hugged me long. Mama, he whispered, your place smells like peace. That's cornbread and boundaries, I said. They rise together. A month later, Ms. Rivera waved at me from the mailbox. Your family is learning, she said. So am I answered. It's a group project. We both laughed. She handed me a flyer. Community cookout, potluck and policy Q&A. You should speak, she said. 5 minutes on keys and kindness. I'll bring biscuits and bullet points, I told her. That evening I wrote on an index card, if love needs a key, it will ask for one. If a guest arrives with your name but without your voice, send them home. A house can hold 2 things at once, warm food and firm rules. I taped the card inside my cabinet door next to the spices. It's good to season the air with something besides salt. Before bed I sat with my notebook and gave the day its line. Access is a tool. Love is a room. One opens the door. The other decides who sits and how we speak. I slid the page under the sugar bowl where all my courage lives. Then I slept with the window open and the deadbolt set. The way a woman sleeps who knows her yes and knows her no and means both. The cookout smelled like charcoal and compromise. Ms. Rivera set up a card table for policy Q&A and handed me a microphone that squeaked like a bad idea. I don't do speeches. I do sentences. So I gave them 3 neighbors, I said. A key is not affection. A visit is not a surprise. And if not today breaks a friendship, it wasn't a friendship. People laugh the way they do when their shoulders recognize the truth, before their mouths admit it. I passed out index cards that said ask first on one side and not today on the other. Folks waved them like church fans. We ate, we learned, and Ms. Rivera looked at me as if I'd just ironed the whole block. Halfway through the potato salad, I saw Chura's mother Cheryl come striding across the grass with a purse that believed in itself. Andre spotted me and drifted over like a tide that knows where home is. Delilah, Cheryl said, hugging me to quick. I was hoping to catch you alone. We're going to plan a Sunday dinner at your place. My grandbaby deserves a bigger room to crawl around when the time comes. Whose baby? I asked because it's good to confirm nouns. Future, she smiled. I'm manifesting. And your living room will do nicely, Cheryl, I said. I've got 2 faithful knees and 1 living room. None are available for manifesting. Her smile thinned. Don't be petty, honey. Family shares. Family asks, I corrected. Sharing comes after clear verbs. Chura walked up then, cheeks uncertain. Mom, we're learning to check calendars. Cheryl waved her off. I raised you. I know what you need. Andre's voice folded into the conversation like a good napkin. We need to honor our mother's rules, he said. Her no is not a dare. Cheryl blinked at him. You're choosing her over your wife? I'm choosing adulthood, he said. Come. It fits all 3 of us. There was a long, useful silence. Ms. Rivera pretended not to watch. I handed Cheryl one of the little cards. The front says ask first, the back says not today. Neither was a fight. She stared at the paper, then tucked it into her purse like bail money. Will? Text first, she said. Good, I answered. I'll reply like a woman with a calendar. Monday brought weather and a grocery sale. I was in all 7 arguing with peanut butter prices when Chura found me with a notebook and a face that had done math. I started that budgeting class, she said, lifting the notebook like a peace flag. Turns out counting is kinder than guessing. We sat on the bench by the pharmacy blood pressure machine and drew 3 envelopes on a page. Today, soon, peace, today pays rent and lights, I said. Soon is for the thing that breaks. Peace is for the little joys that keep you from breaking. She wrote it down like a vow. We've been asking your help without proof. We've helped ourselves. Now you're helping yourselves with proof, I said. That's respect in numbers. At checkout she tried to sneak my milk onto her belt. I let her because progress can afford to. Wednesday tested us. Cheryl showed up at my door with a casserole and 3 cousins. The keypad chirped. The door did not. She called from the stoop. We're here. You are, I said through the door. And the casserole can come in tomorrow at 6 when invited. There was a chorus of cousin noises. Cheryl lowered her voice. Don't embarrass me. Boundaries aren't a stage, I said. They're a fence. Tomorrow at 6. You bring the casserole. I'll bring chairs. They left in a flurry of tote bags. 10 minutes later my phone buzzed. Chura, I didn't know Mom was coming. I'll fix it. Me? You just did. See you tomorrow, 6, and we did. 3 cousins came back softer and on time. We set plates, we ate, and everyone used indoor voices like they discovered new tools. Cheryl lingered as we washed dishes. You're hard to argue with, she said. I'm hard to move. I replied. Different thing. She half smiled. Thank you for not slamming the door. I prefer locks to slams, I said. They work while you sleep. On Sunday, Andre and Chura invited me to their place. When I arrived, I saw my old sticky note framed on their fridge. Help equals yes when asked. Control equals no. Every time. Under it, Andre had taped a new slip. Ask first even if you're sure. We ate roast chicken and the kind of green beans that remember bacon. After, Andre cleared his throat. We've been practicing Rule 7, he said, glancing at me. On the coffee table sat a small stack of envelopes labeled today, soon, peace. We also wrote our own house rules. May we read them? You may, I said and sat back like a pew. Chura, read, speak to the person, not the fear. If we need help, we ask with numbers, not hints. Guests need calendars. No using family to skip permission. When we're wrong, we say the name of the wrong thing and fix it. She looked up. We put copies by the door and the phone. That's where temptation lives, I said. Good. Andre handed me a small wrapped package. Inside was a brass key on a ribbon. This is your guest key, he said. Not a fishing pole. We'll text first. If you say not today, we'll see you another day. I tied the ribbon around my wrist for a moment, just to feel the weight of it. I'll keep it, I said, for the days when love needs a key. Chur exhaled like something heavy had finally believed it wasn't welcome. Thank you for not giving up on me, she said. I gave up on the old conversation, I answered. You brought a new one 2 weeks later. Ms. Rivera asked me to speak again, this time to a smaller circle of residents who'd been feuding about parking, deliveries, and pop-ups. I brought biscuits and bullet points, of course. When it ended, a young couple came over. Hands were upon together like they'd learned how from scratch. How do we set rules without sounding mean? The girl asked. Write them when you're calm, I said. Read them when you're hungry. Post them where you fight, they laughed. I sent them home with 2 biscuits and an index card that read ask first, not today. That night, at my kitchen table, I opened the notebook I keep under the sugar bowl, the one that catches all the sentences that earned their place. I wrote, peace is not luck. It's policy with warm food. Keys remember hands. Calendars remember love. When not today can live in a house, tomorrow finally knows how to come in. I closed the book. The deadbolt clicked. The window welcomed the night. And I slept like a woman whose doors open exactly when she means them to. It was a Tuesday that felt like a shrug. Clouds sat on the roof, the mail came late, and my cornbread rose like it knew better than the weather. I was halfway through a cup of tea when the building's fire alarm hiccuped once and stopped. A minute later, Ms. Rivera called. Double quotes, Mrs. Carter. Unit A just reported water in their hallway. We think a supply line burst somewhere between B and C. You home? I am, I said. Already moving. No smoke, just the sound of a bad faucet. Maintenance is on the way. Can we enter with emergency access? You can, I said. I'll unlock and wait. I texted Andre and Chura. Water issue. Not danger. I'll share a wood code if I need a hand. Both replied on our way like grown people, not sirens. I set a towel under the sink and turned the valves, but old metal has its own language. A slender spray found the cabinet seam and wrote a rude poem on my floor. Maintenance arrived with a bucket and a tone that said this wasn't his first Tuesday. I opened the door and stepped back. Wood code went to Andre. The lock beeped and let in the person it knew by name. 5 minutes later, the spray was a drip, the drip was a sigh, and the sigh was a stain that bleach would forgive. We were mopping when Cheryl appeared in the hall of the tote, and an expression that believed in itself. I came as soon as Chura texted, she said. Pushing toward the door, Chura stepped between us, palms up but steady. Mom, we have it. If Auntie wants to help, we'll ask. Cheryl blinked, surprised at the word we on my daughter-in-law's tongue. She looked past her at the bucket, the towels, the maintenance man humming to a wrench. Nothing was dramatic enough to excuse a boundary. I brought chili, she offered, smaller. For later is perfect, I said. 6 o'clock. We'll set 3 bowls and 1 thank you. Her shoulders lowered. 6, she said, and left the toe like a flag, choosing the right country. When the last puddle remembered gravity, we sat at my table with 3 spoons and a tired laugh. Andre wiped the counter the way sons apologize. Chura read the what I'm code out loud, then hit delete. Good, I said. Love doesn't need a permanent key to prove it knows the way. 2 days later, another test came. Smaller and sneakier. A clerk from the DMV called to confirm my address for a vehicle registration, a car I didn't own. Whose name is on the title? I asked. Primary, Andre Carter. Secondary, she hesitated. Request pending for Delilah Carter. No. Ma'am, I said. Cordialist Church. Remove my name and my address. He's got both already where they belong. I hung up and called my son. He whistled low. I clicked autofill. He said. It loves you. Turn it off, I said. Autofill is how people spend other people's peace. He laughed. Yes, ma'am, we added a new line to the binder under house rules. 8 No autofill with mama's name. If a form wants Delilah, it can wait. CIA or A tape to copy to their fridge. Boundaries travel better when they hitch a ride on paper. Sunday came with sun the color of patience. We invited Cheryl for chili the way we promised and added cornbread. Because I like to bribe forgiveness. She arrived on time with a dessert that had tried its best. We ate, we talked, we practiced small sentences. At the sink. She rinsed bowls and said without preamble, I don't like asking. No one does, I said. But the world likes you better when you do. She nodded, eyes on the soap. I've been making everything louder to prove I'm not alone. Turn the volume down, I said. Invite people instead. By dessert. She was telling a story about Chura at 9 learning to braid on a doll with bald spots. We laughed and ate the pie that tasted better after it rested like most people. When she left, she held my arm. Thank you for 6 o'clock. Thank you for not 5:30, I said. We smiled like women who understand clocks and pride. A week later, Ms. Rivera hosted a small evening called Company and Keys. She asked me to speak for 3 minutes. I timed it with the kettle. Neighbors, I said. Here are 3 truths that fix my house. Not today is a full sentence, not a fight. A key is a tool. Love is the room. Don't confuse the handle with the dinner. Policies are just promises with chores. Write them when you're calm. Keep them when you're tired. People nodded the way heads do when shoulders finally go down. Cheryl sat in the back and raised her index card ask first side up. Progress has a face, and it looked like hers. The first cool front of the season arrived like permission. I baked sweet potatoes and opened the window to let the evening edit my air. Andre texted a photo. Their fridge would to columns today. Soon, peace. And 3 envelopes tucked in a basket beneath. Chura added a caption, no more emergency Instacart. We cook what we have. We ask when we don't. Look at you too. I wrote back. Grown. They came by Friday, invited and brought a plant that forgives even winter. We ate on my little table, told the truth about small things and did not borrow tomorrow. When they left, Chura paused at the door. Thank you, she said, and meant for all of it. I used to think being a wife meant managing every room. Now I think it means honoring them. That's architecture, I said. You're learning the floor plan. Before bed I opened the notebook under the sugar bowl, my ledger of words that earn their keep. I wrote, emergencies reveal our habits. Make yours calm, clear, and written. Give love the key when it asks. Give fear a chair by the door and a coat for the walk home. Not today kept my floors dry. 6 o'clock fed us all. I slid the page beneath the others. The stack is thick now. That's what happens when you live by sentences instead of storms. The deadbolt clicked with its little amen. The window welcomed the night, and I slept like a woman whose house and heart open exactly when she means them to. September slid into the kind of cool that remembers manners. I was shelling peas when the phone rang. Andre. His voice carried a wobble he was trying to iron. Mama, I lost my job today. There it was. The sentence that turns a house into a measuring cup. Say the nouns, I told him. Not the fog, he inhaled. Department cut. 2 weeks severance. Health insurance ends next month. Rent due on the 1st. Good, I said. Now bring your wife and your numbers. 6 o'clock, they arrived with a folder. Not panic. Progress where's card stock.cir spread the pages pay stubs. Rent, utilities. The card note that thought too highly of itself. Andre had written 3 columns like we practiced. Today. Soon, peace. I can cover basics this month, he said. After that, we're tight. Chura looked at me straight. We need help. The kind with a receipt. Then we'll do it with a handle, I said and took out my small ledger. Here are my terms. This is a bridge, not a hammock. Amount, 6 weeks of your today column. Form, loan, 0 interest. Paper, we sign. You pay back in 12 months or when the new job lands, whichever is kinder but real. Condition, you send me a weekly text with 1 number you lowered and 1 boundary you kept. Rule, if fight start, pause money. Resume kindness. Andre nodded like he'd been waiting for a grown-up sentence all day. Yes, ma'am, Chura exhaled. Thank you for the handle. We wrote. We signed. We shook hands like adults who love each other. Before they left, I handed Andre an index card to tape above his desk. Apply daily. Rest weekly. Ask first. Not today equals not never, he smiled. I'll make it my screensaver. To interviews later. HR called him overqualified and a delight. Delight doesn't pay rent. We kept our policy in our P's. Then a Monday arrived with 2 lines on a small stick and a cry in the bathroom. That held the whole future. Chura came over with eyes shiny and stepped slow. I'm pregnant, she said, and laughed crying all at once. I'm terrified and happy in the same mouth. I poured tea because some congratulations need heat and sugar. Here's how we hold both, I said. We keep the loan that's for today. We open a basket that's for soon. Diapers, savings, leave. And we carve a small slice labeled peace. 1 pretty blanket, 1 silly song. 1 nap with no apology. She wiped her eyes. I thought you'd tell me to be strong. I'm telling you to be structured, I said. Strength burns out. Structure breathes. Andre arrived mid-kettle with a face that had just learned the word father. He kissed Chura's forehead and looked at me like a boy who broke a window. And found out the house was still kind. We can do this. He said, you will? I answered. With receipts. That weekend, Cheryl came by with a cake that had practice restraint. She opened her purse slow. I brought something, she said, and pulled out a check and a folded apology. For the baby's soon basket and I'm taking a class at the community center. How to help without owning the room. She winced a smile. Apparently I'm advanced placement. I took the check like it was hot. Thank you, I said. For the money and the verbs, she looked at Chura with a softness I hadn't seen. Text me before you need me, she said. I'll say yes. Or I'll say not today. 5 o'clock tomorrow. But I'll say it with my inside voice. Chura hugged her mother. That hug was a small quiet miracle. They don't photograph well, but they hold houses up. Job leads trickled. Andre stacked freelance hours like cups. The loan balance went down by shy inches, but down is a direction. Twice he texted. We argued. Pause money. Resumed kindness. I sent back a peach emoji and a proud. One afternoon, Ms. Rivera slipped a note under my door. Board is updating access policy. Your phrases may we quote? I wrote back, quote the biscuits too. She drew a smiley face. Policy should smile when it protects people. We hosted a baby announce upper 6 chairs, 1 candle. No glitter. My name card sat at the corner of the table where the light was honest. After we ate, Andre stood with a shy grin. To my mother, he said, who taught us that help comes with a handle, and love comes with a doorbell. We laughed the way families do when they're a little embarrassed by their own good fortune. I lifted my glass. To my son and his wife, I said, may your house always hold warm food and firm rules. May your not today protect your tomorrow. May your keys remember the hands that earn them. Cheryl dabbed her eyes. Chura touched her belly with the kind of caution joy deserves. That night, after the dishes and the door clicks, I opened the notebook under the sugar bowl and gave the day its place. Help to count. Must fit in a ledger. Love to last must fit in a calendar. A bridge has a beginning and an end. A hammock just has shade. We chose the bridge, and we walked it together. I slid the page under the stack that smells faintly of tea, and ink and the kind of courage you measure by teaspoons. Then I set the deadbolt click. A man cracked the window so night could breathe, and slept like a woman who knows her yes, knows her no, and knows the difference between a handle and a hand. It happened on a Thursday that smelled like rain and clean sheets. Chura texted, I think it's time, and my brain clicked into the drawer where I keep verbs. I grabbed the go bag, the binder with emergency, and an index card that said ask first out of triage. The nurse Marisol, calm eyes, asked for our visitor plan. I handed her a half sheet I'd typed the night before. Updates by text Andre gives group. Visitors tomorrow unless medical says otherwise. Shifts 15 minutes to people, quiet voices. No live play-by-play on social media. Mom's yes, no is final. Ma or ISOL read it like a recipe she could trust. Will be the doorbell, she said and taped the plan to the whiteboard. Cheryl arrived fast, carrying breath like luggage. Let me in, she told the nurse. I'm the grandmother. You are, Marisol said kindly, and the mother is contracting. She pointed to the plan. We honor this. Cheryl looked at me, expecting an exception. I shook my head, soft and steady. Tomorrow, I mouthed. She exhaled like letting air out of an old argument and sat down. Labor did its work the way oceans do, steady, then rude, then holy. Andre lived at Chura's shoulder, counting without losing his place. I held water, rubbed her back, and told the room true things. You're safe. You're strong. We're here. Just before dawn, a cry stitched the air to the future. A girl, small and loud, with hair that already had opinions. Chura sobbed, Andre laughed, and I felt my heart learn a new hallway. We sent the group text at 8 a.m. She's here. Healthy, mom resting. Visitors tomorrow. Cheryl replied, not today. Understood. I stared at that sentence like a miracle. Growth is quieter than fireworks. Marisol pinned a little sleep sign on the door and turned away 3 bouquets and 1 cousin. Who thinks rules are for other people? Tomorrow, she said. Same calm. Bring snacks, not stories. The next afternoon, Cheryl stood in the doorway with hands already washed. She stepped in like a hymn and asked, may I? Chura nodded. Cheryl held that baby like a prayer. She finally decided to say in a normal voice, thank you for the doorbell. She whispered to all of us. Homecoming tasted like light soup and naps paid for with silence. We set a 72-hour quiet period. No drop-ins, no perfume, no advice unless invited. I taped our newborn policy to the fridge. Wash hands. If you didn't bring a meal, bring silence. No kissing the baby's face. If you hear not today, reply tomorrow, 6 p.m. Baby sleeps. Grown-ups whisper. Phones take turns. We use Signup Genius for meals. Cheryl took to slots and did not bring a crowd. She left food in a text that said on your porch, love you, not staying. I saved that one. At 3 a.m., when the house had that new baby hum. Andre padded to my kitchen, found the binder, and flipped to house rules. He added a line in pencil, 9 in crisis. We default to the plan we wrote when rested. He poured 2 glasses of water, took 1 to Chura, and set one of the bassinet like an offering to the gods of hydration. 2 weeks later, life tried to push again. A group chat spun up, old friends wanting to surprise Chura. I stopped the surprise with 3 words, ask, don't arrive. We reset the date, capped the time, and made them bring folding chairs. They came, they whispered, they washed dishes. When they left, Chura said, I didn't know love could be this organized. It isn't love unless it can be, I said. In the middle of all this, Andre's phone lit up with a number he wanted. Offer letter, full-time, decent pay, health insurance. He stood by the sink and tried to speak while his eyes watered. I hugged him the way mothers do when relief shows up with a name tag. We marked the calendar for loan payback first chunk. He brought a cashier's check and a blueprint, budget trimmed. Envelopes labeled today, soon, peace, and index card on his desk that read apply, rest, ask first. Not today does not equal not never. We signed the receipt, and I slid it into the binder under loan, paper bless his memory. Cheryl asked to host a small naming supper. Chura said yes with rules that didn't shake. Front row for the mothers, she texted the family. 15 guests, 2 hours. We're taking back bedtime at the supper. My seat had a plain card Lillian, grandmother, and Cheryl said Cheryl grandmother. We caught each other's eyes and nodded like co-architects who finally read the same specs. When it was time to speak, Cheryl stood and didn't perform. I used to think love meant getting there first and loudest, she said. Turns out it means getting invited and being useful. Thank you for teaching me doors, she sat. The room breathed. People ate and didn't break the furniture after dessert. I walked the hall with the baby against my shoulder. She made those sleepy goat noises babies make when they've agreed to the world for one more hour. I whispered to her the way I used to whisper to her father. You are safe. You are loved. This house uses doorknobs, not alarms. A month later, I found a little brass plaque in my mailbox from Ms. Rivera engraved, neat, ASK first. She'd had one made for every unit. Optional, her note said, but recommended. The board had also adopted a clean access policy, visitor lists, emergency codes, written permissions. Neighbors grumbled for 2 days, then discovered their naps were longer. I screwed the plaque beside my doorbell. Cheryl took a selfie with hers and posted it with practicing. The comments were nice for once. On a Tuesday that pretended to be calm, the baby spiked a fever. It wasn't high, but fear talks loud. We opened the binder to emergency and followed the lines we'd written when we were rested. Andre called the nurse line. Chura packed the bag. I texted, we are going. Updates by group text only. Please don't come. Cheryl replied, not today. Praying. Soup on your porch for tomorrow. At urgent care. The nurse gave us the same calm as Marisol had. Here's the plan. Here's the room. Here's the door. Virus, not danger. We went home and used Cheryl's soup like medicine. That night I wrote in my notebook, crisis is just a pop quiz. Study when you're calm. A house that speaks in policies whispers peace to a baby. I slid the page under the sugar bowl, my private library of earned sentences on an ordinary morning, the best kind. Andre came by to hand me the final payment on the loan. He didn't make a speech. He set the envelope down, kissed my cheek, and said, thank you for the bridge, you walked it. I said, I just pointed at the planks. We updated the binder loan, paid in full, and celebrated with pancakes that did their job. Chura arrived with the baby and a small frame. Inside, my 3 lines from the beginning, printed in her neat hand. Love cooks. Control assigns. Respect is rent you pay in words and choices. If you forget, we pause access until kindness returns. She hung it beside their door, then handed me a duplicate for mine. Architecture, she said, and we both smiled that night. I sat by my window with the sash up, and the deadbolt clicked. The street smelled like leaves and someone learning to grill without fear. I opened my notebook and gave the season its paragraph. We didn't become peaceful by accident. We wrote it down, we taped it up, we cooked it hot. We said not today until tomorrow, learned how to knock. Keys are tools. Doors are promises. Family is a room we keep level and warm. I slid the page beneath the others, turned off the lamp, and let the house remember my name. Then I slept the way a woman sleeps when her yes and no fit in the same drawer. And everyone in the family knows where the handle is. October showed up with a sweater and an apology for summer. The baby learned to smile with her whole face. The house learned to yawn at 9:30. We were a small orchestra, Andre on invoices, Chura on naps, me on tea, and the soft percussion of laundry folding on a Tuesday. Ms. Rivera taped a notice by the mailboxes. ASK first plaques now standard for each residence. Someone had added a sticky note underneath. Not today is a whole sentence. I didn't write it, but I laughed like I had that same week. Chura's boss tried to send work home in a tone that didn't ask. She lifted the phone with both hands and used new verbs. I'm on leave, she said. Come. You'll have the files when my calendar says return, not when your panic says now. She hung up, breathed, and texted me a picture of the baby with a caption, Boundaries plus spur cloth. That's a thesis if I ever saw one. Andre got an email with a subject line that sounded like a door opening, promotion track review. He read it twice and didn't celebrate out loud. Growth doesn't need fireworks to count. He printed the note and slid it under a magnet on their fridge right beside today. Soon, peace. On Friday night, Cheryl arrived at my door at 5:58 p.m., holding a loaf wrapped in a towel and humility. 2 minutes early, she said, showing me her phone as if it were a passport. 2 minutes forgiven, I said, and showed her the table, 3 bowls, 1 candle. Chairs that knew who they were for. halfway through the soup. She tapped the ASK First plaque by my door. I ordered one for my place, she said. I told the family it's not decoration, it's architecture, I answered. Hang straighter that way. November brought a letter from the church. Would I give a 5-minute talk? At the seniors' luncheon, lessons from a peaceful house, I don't do speeches. I do sentences. But I put on my good cardigan and showed up with index cards. I told them 3 things. Write your policies when you're rested. Live them when you're tired. Keys are tools. They don't prove love, dinners do. Not today keeps tomorrow honest. They nodded like their shoulders had been waiting to hear it. Afterwards, a woman with a hat that meant business squeezed my hand. I'm going home to tape Ask First above my phone, she said. Before I answer it, we both laughed, and in the way of church basements, there was lemon cake. One chilly morning, Andre knocked with a grin he couldn't fold. We found a bigger place, he said. 2 bedrooms, southlight, a porch that wants stories. Congratulations, I said. Do you need a cosigner? I asked it to test the room. He shook his head. We qualify on our own. But we want you to bless it. Blessing I tranks co-signing, I said. Lead the way. The new apartment was 3 bus stops over and 1 lifetime closer. Clean floors. Windows that knew how to frame a winter sun. Chura stood in the smaller bedroom, measuring it with her eyes. Nursery, she said. The baby gurgled like she'd signed off. I handed them a small wrapped box. Inside, a brass doorbell plaque like mine. Engraved Nite SK First and an index card in my hand. Guest sneak calendars. Not today is a bridge, not a goodbye. Love cooks. Control signs. Hang it by the door, I said. Not for visitors, for you. They hugged me in that triangular way families do when a baby is between them. And no one wants to squish the future. On the porch I said what I meant. I won't be your storage unit, your emergency fund, or your doormat. I will be your mother in your home. Andre swallowed. Yes, ma'am, Chura wiped an eye. Yes, please. Moving day arrived with boxes that underestimated themselves. I brought biscuits and labeled tape. Cheryl brought coffee and the kind of jokes that learned to be gentle. At noon, a neighbor tried to borrow my parking spot with his bumper. Chura stepped forward, pointed to their printed house rules on the inside of the door, and said, We wrote it down. Please respect what isn't yours. He backed up, as people often do when paper is polite and visible. We ate on the floor, the best place for first meals, and practiced their doorbell. Guests tapped the plaque with their knuckles and asked before stepping in. It felt like a small town with better lighting. That night, I returned to my duplex and sat with the quiet the way you sit with a friend. Who doesn't need to talk? I opened my notebook, the one that lives under the sugar bowl and smells like tea, and earned courage. I wrote, We didn't tame the world. We tuned our room. Etiquette without consent is theater. Consent with casseroles is family. Write it. Tape it. Cook it. Keep it. I slid the page under the rest and let the stack lean a little. Leaning proves it's been read. A week later, Ms. Rivera asked if I'd join a small resident panel to finalize the building's access policy. We sat with clipboards, a pot of coffee, and the memory of too many midnight karaoke notices. Keep it simple, I said. If a rule needs a lawyer to read it, it won't protect a nap. We ended with 6 lines on 1 page. Residents approve visitors in writing. Emergency codes expire. No package rerouting without consent. Parking spots belong to leases, not opinions. Quiet hours protect mornings and mothers. Complaints in writing. Compliments encouraged out loud. It passed. People grumbled for 2 days. Then they slept better. That's the usual order. On the baby's 3-month day, we held a small porch blessing to mothers. 1 father, 1 child, 3 neighbors who know how to hold a casserole in their tongue. Andre read a short line he wrote himself. Thank you for the roof we pay for, the peace we guard, and the doorbell we ring even when the door is ours. We said amen. We ate. The baby stared at the world like she was giving it a performance review later. When the sun did its sideways winter thing, Cheryl stood next to me and watched her daughter laugh with her husband, without the sound of panic underneath. I used to think love arrived with a siren, she said. Turns out it knocks. Turns out it reads, I said, nodding at the policies taped by the door. And it brings a dish, she smiled. I make a mean lemon cake. I know, I said. Bring it when invited. We both laughed. And it sounded like the truth. Getting comfortable. That night, back at my table, I thumbed through my notebook, peony thin pages full of sentences I never thought I'd need until I did. I added one more. Peace is not a personality trait. It's a practice. Family is not the front row. It's the floor plan. When the doorbell is used, everyone comes in lighter. I closed the book, set it under the sugar bowl, and turned off the light. The dead bowl clicked its small benediction. The window let the cool in like a friend. I slept the way women sleep when they've raised a son, blessed a daughter-in-law, and taught a street to knock. If anybody asks me now how we got here, I'll tell them 3 sentences. A binder, warm food, and a doorbell that means what it says. November came in carrying recipes and opinions. The baby could hold her head up and an entire room's attention. The rest of us practiced being interesting only when invited. Let's host a small Thanksgiving, Chura said, testing the words like a hot pan. 4 guests. 2 hours. Early start, early end. Good, I said. Holidays need fences, not megaphones. We wrote a 1-page holiday plan and taped it to their fridge. Guess, for by name. Time? 3 to 5 p.m. baby bedtime wins. Food, potluck with assignments. Noise, laughter low. TV off during baby naps. Baby, hands washed. No face kissing. Ask before holding. Door, ask first if you didn't or SVP. You didn't. Cheryl signed it at the kitchen table like a treaty. If Aunt Loretta tries to add to cousins, she said, I'll meet her at the parking lot with a hug and a calendar. Good, I said. Hugs are better at the lot anyway on the day. The hallway smelled like butter and people remembering they were raised right. I arrived at 58 with rolls and patience. Andre met me at the door and pointed to my place card at the corner. Lillian, grandmother. Not center stage. Not behind a pillar. Correct. Cheryl came at 3:02 with mac and cheese that had survived rehearsals. She tapped the ASK first plaque with her knuckle once, lightly then waited. Progress wears small shoes. At 3:07, the doorbell tried to be a drum. Aunt Loretta, breathless, appeared with 2 cousins already stepping into their inside voices. Cheryl blocked, kind and firm. 5 o'clock, she said, pointing to the paper. We love you today at 5. This is a baby's quiet hour. Loretta blinked, looked at the plan, and then got his real nodded. We'll bring ice, she said. The cousins waved like a delayed parade and left. Cheryl closed the door with a smile that had learned how to take turns. This is what a holiday boundary looks like, I told the room. It feels like manners. We ate. We kept forks off politics. The baby made the rounds the way a tiny diplomat does, 5 minutes per pair of arms. Then back to port. Cheryl watched her hands like a newly licensed driver. Halfway through dessert, Cousin Trey arrived late and decorated with opinions. He reached for the baby without washing, and Chura held up the bottle of sanitizer like a referee with a whistle. Hands, she said. Calm. He laughed. I'm family, and soap is universal, she answered. 30 seconds, he stared, then obeyed. When he sat, he tried again. Now I get a turn, you get an offer. She corrected. Would you like a turn after she eats? He grinned despite himself. I would, and when the baby finished, she rode his forearm like a tiny queen who respects hand-washing. Trey took a photo and whispered, rules make better pictures. Write that down, I said. For 59. Cheryl tapped her watch and pointed to the paper. People hugged like they meant it. Coach remembered their owners. Loretta returned at 5 with ice and a tone that had decided not to fight. We ate leftovers and called it round 2. Nobody stayed past bedtime. I sat on the sofa afterward and watched my children breathe, which is a holiday all by itself. December tried us. Andre's new job loved him loudly and wanted to prove it with overtime. Chura's leave was ending, and her boss kept sending just a few things. The baby discovered volume. The calendar got nervous. We met at my table with pens as still worked in a kettle that never panics. Pick your yes for this month, I said. Then protect it with 3 no's. Andre chose bedtime, home by 7. Phone in a drawer for 2 hours. His 3 no's. No quick email after 5. No new projects without a calendar. No guilt regarding bedtime. Chura chose re-enter 4 days back, 1 day off. Remote when the baby's teething. Her 3 no's. No surprise meetings. No slack after 6. No pretending urgent is a personality. They wrote them on the inside of the front door where shoes and mistakes live. Cheryl chose support without takeover meals on Tuesdays. Laundry on Thursdays, leave by 8. Her 3 no's. No inviting people with my car. No rearranging the nursery. No advice unless requested. And you? Chura asked me. Pen poised. I choose quiet mornings, I said. No calls before 9 unless someone needs an ambulance or a casserole. I wrote my nose on my own door. No just dropping by. No borrowing my parking spot. No borrowing my name on forms. We clinked mugs like a treaty that includes cinnamon. A week before Christmas, the church held a new family blessing. The sanctuary glittered the way it does when December is trying. Andre asked if I would sit with Cheryl up front. Of course, I said. They're not selling seats here. We arrived early. An usher pointed us to the second pew with a smile that belonged in a brochure. We sat together to grandmothers. Same row, same room, same job. When the pastor called families forward, we stood with the baby between us. And I felt a seat I didn't have to fight for after the benediction. A woman stopped me by the poinsettias. I listened to your talk at the luncheon, she said. I wrote ask first on my calendar every Sunday. My daughter thinks I got kinder. You got clearer, I said. Clarity is kindness with good posture. Christmas Day we kept small on purpose. Morning at their place, afternoon at mine. Gifts were practical, wrapped in a sentence, this makes her life easier. Andre gave Chura a subscription to groceries with a schedule, not a siren. Chura gave Andre a watch that reminds you to stand up and go home. The baby gave us drool in festive quantities. Cheryl brought lemon cake in humility. She took one photo and put the phone away. I like hearing my own child laugh without trying to narrate it, she said. We ate at my small table for adults. One small monarch in a bouncy seat. The street doing winter outside the window, speech, Andre said. Half joking. I don't do speeches, I answered. I do sentences. I raised my water. To a year that learned to knock. To a house that cooks warm food and keeps firm rules. To a family that reads the room and the calendar. We set amen like a stove ticking as it cools. On New Year's Eve, I stayed home with tea and the good blanket. I opened the notebook under the sugar bowl and gave December its page. Holidays test the hinges. Keep them oiled with policies and pie. If family tries to enter without washing its hands, hand it the soap and the calendar. A grandmother's throne is a regular chair with everyone's respect tucked underneath. I slid the page into the stack and let it rest out at midnight. The building cheered in civilized tones. Someone set off a small firework 3 blocks over. I didn't get up. I'd already seen the best show, my children keeping time, the baby keeping watch. The doorbell meaning what it says. The year turned. The deadbolt clicked. The window let January in. I slept like a woman whose holiday plan fit on one page and fed everyone twice. January doesn't do fireworks. It does math. The tree is down, the tinsel retired, and the light coming through the blinds looks like a ledger. I sharpened a pencil and let the month audit us. At 9:11 a.m. The phone rang with panic wearing a teenager's voice. Grandma, it's me, Andre, I'm in trouble. I need you to wire. I put the kettle on and the phone on speaker. Which Andre? I asked. I know 3, a click. A different man, older. Tried to sound official. Ma'am, your grandson, sir, I said, calm. This household follows a phone policy. We never move money on a live call. We call back on a saved number. If you're real, you'll still be there. He tried a threat. I tried a dial tone. Then I texted my son, scam call. We're fine. He replied with a peach emoji and binder saves again. I wrote a fresh card for the fridge titled phone policy. Hang up. Call back using saved contact. No numbers, codes, or money over live calls. Family safe word, peaches. If the story lacks peaches, it lacks truth. Ms. Rivera asked for a copy for the lobby. Scammers don't love laminated signs. 2 days later, the daycare waitlist called. We have a spot, the woman sang, for a fee and a decision in 2 hours. Chura's eyes got big. Andre's calendar made a loud face. Cheryl started to reach for her purse like a reflex. I slid the kettle between the panic and the form. 2 hours is not a deadline, I said. It's a tactic. We'll decide with numbers, not adrenaline. We made a childcare rubric on a napkin because adult life is mostly napkins that survive soup. Ours real, not brochure. 10 commute, 1 bus or 3. 10 staff ratio posted and observed. 10 sick day policy, fear or grace. 10 cost after subsidies. 10 gut does a room breathe. 10 we called to other places, visited 1, and stood in corners pretending to admire bulletin boards while we listened. How teachers said names. How babies cried and were answered. The urgent daycare scored 30 for 60th. The quieter one with ugly curtains and warm hands scored 51. We can bridge 1 more month, I said, nodding at our loan ledger with its satisfying paid-in full stamp. Choose the room with better verbs. We took the 51. Cheryl exhaled like a woman who almost adopted a problem on sale. On the way home, she said, I almost put your name on the guarantor line. You almost put your loneliness there, I said. Gentle. But we're not feeding that anymore, she laughed at herself. Noted, we added 2 lines to the binder under childcare. No decisions under a timer. No signatures that aren't ours. A week into the new routine. Andre's job tried to love him with lady mails. He took the watch I gave him, stand up, go home, and made it policy. He emailed his boss 3 sentences. I'm home by 7 for bedtime. 1 start early. I don't end late. I deliver by calendar, not by adrenaline. The boss wrote back understood and added a face that looked like respect. On its second try, Chur's office sent a urgent quick favor at 6:04 p.m. She replied with the template we wrote on her phone. Thanks for the request. I'm off after 6. Happy to schedule this tomorrow between 10 and 12. Urgent work travels through the on-call rota. Then she put her phone in the drawer labeled not tonight and kissed that baby like a contract. Winter came for the pipes one morning. When the sky forgot how to bend, the heat buzzed, the radiators made old house poetry, and then the power dipped. Not out, just stubborn. I texted emergency group, brownout likely. We're fine. Check flashlights, and the soup shelf, Cheryl replied on it, which is better than I'm coming. The light steadied their nerves. Andre fixed a draft with a towel. We didn't make a movie out of it. We made tea. When fear knocks and there's no fire, offer it a chair and a schedule. Tax season put on its annual cape. The DMV had tried us with autofill. The IRS wanted to audition. Andre texted me a screenshot of a tax prep app suggesting he maximize returns. By listing a dependent, he snorted. It wants to claim you, mama. I said back, I'm your mother, not your deduction. We added a line to the binder under money. No claiming people who aren't in your house and care. No maximizing that robs tomorrow's honesty. CIA shook her head. Apps will have you apologizing to a stranger in April. Apps don't have to cook in May, I said. On a soft Saturday, Cheryl invited me to her place for coffee. Invited, their rainbow word. She'd hung her ASK first plaque by the door and framed a small printed card above the phone. Clarity is kindness with good posture. I didn't know I'd said that one out loud. It looked happy living there. I've been practicing, she confessed. My mouth likes to run ahead of my feet, mine too, I said. I taught it to carry a calendar. We talked about the baby's new trick, grabbing glasses. The daycare's ugly curtains no one cares after nap time. And the way quiet joy sneaks up when you keep the doorbell policy. On her fridge was a meal plan that respected nap schedules. And a small envelope taped beside it labeled peace. Inside, a nail salon gift card. A matinee ticket. 3 coupons for 2 hours of Aunt Loretta holding the baby while you nap. Look at you, I told her. Building rest with paper. She grinned. I'm getting fluent. The next hiccup arrived with a group text from Cousin Trey. Pop-up game night at Andre and Churros. 8 p.m. BYO. 5 thumbs up bloomed like weeds. CIA typed not today. Newborn bedtime. Trey tried a joke. We'll be quiet, Andre replied. Quiet has a noise. I added. Game night at my place next Friday. 6 to 8. Our SVP or you didn't. 6 people wrote in. Trey wrote I'll wash dishes. Progress is a spam with receipts. On Friday they came on time. Played like adults. Stacked chairs when the clock said not today. And left the room better than they found it. I slept good on the other side of 8:15. Which is how a body thanks a policy. By month's end. The daycare sent a no home. We've adopted to family policies from Grandma to Lila's binder. Ask first for visits and not today ours. Hope that's okay. It's more than okay, I told Chura. It's contagious. We celebrated by cooking something simple that feeds 4 in an argument. Beans, rice, cornbread. During dishes, Andre taped a new card inside their cabinet. We don't impress. We protect. Warm food, firm rules, enough chairs with names on them. I went home with leftovers, and the kind of pride that doesn't post itself. At my table. I opened the notebook under the sugar bowl and gave January its paragraph. Joy doesn't audition. It moves in when you stop overselling the room. Emergencies shrink when plans get laminated. If a stranger says wire money, hang up and boil water. Tea kettles outrang sirens in this house. I slid the page into the stack fat now. Leaning like an honest book. I set the deadbolt, cracked the window to let the cold prove itself, and slept like a woman whose family learned to translate love into policies, and policies back into peace. February showed up with wet sleeves and lists. The baby learned to grab ears. The bills learned to arrive on Tuesdays. We kept our calendar where our mouths are. At 3:11 p.m. my phone buzzed. Daycare, Mrs. Carter. Quick question. The teacher said, careful. Grandma is here for early pickup. Which one? I asked. My family has to. Silence turned its head. She said, Grandma. We don't release the titles, I said. Ask her for the code word. A muffled pause. Then the teacher came back. She said she forgot. Then she'll remember in the parking lot, I said, gentle. The word is peaches. If she doesn't say it, she doesn't leave with our baby. 5 minutes later, the teacher texted a thumbs up and a photo of the sign they taped by the desk. Nitrogen monoxide code. No kid, I exhaled the kind of breath that pays rent. 10 minutes after that, my doorbell rang. Aunt Loretta. Purse, breath, and a look that expected forgiveness as a default. I was helping, she said. Cheryl asked me to swing by, and the clerk got fussy. She got careful, I corrected. Help brings the code. Care brings it on time, she grimaced. I can remember peaches, remember the text first, I said. Then the door opens. That evening we added a tab to the binder. Pickup policy approved list photos plus IDs on file. Code word, peaches. Change monthly. No, I'm her aunt, titles neat paper. Teacher calls parents first, then me. If code fails, we reset. No embarrassment, just policy. Cheryl texted, I told Loretta to help without asking you. I won't do that again. I replied, thank you. Code changes March 1st, don't put it in a group chat. She sent back a peach emoji and noted, we are fluent now. 2 days later, a different line got tugged. The daycare posted a sweet photo, the baby in a paper crown, the world behaving. Public, no blur. No ask, Chura saw it first. Her hands wanted to shake. Her mouth wanted to burn. She called me instead. Write the sentence, I said. She did. Hi. Love the care. Please remove our child's photo from public posts. You're welcome to share privately with us, but we don't publish her face. Thank you for understanding and honoring our family policy. 30 minutes and one apology later, the post was gone. We printed a photo, posting policy card for our people and theirs, asked before posting our child. If yes, share privately. No names, faces, or location tags. Cute isn't a reason. Consent is. If we say not today, that's the end of the thread. The director thanked us for language we can actually use. I told her good policies fit on one page and one fridge. Mail brought a fat envelope with a thin smile. HOA special assessment, roof reserve. Amount due, not cruel, but not shy. Due date soon enough to make people rude. Andre rubbed the back of his neck. We can piece it, but it pinches. Chura looked at me like a smart woman does when she loves a solution too much. If you co-sign, no. I said, kind. I'll be your mother, not your collateral. We took the kettle off the boil and put the math on the table. 3 lines, today. Car from dining out plus subscription graveyard. Soon, divert from soon envelope for 60 days, write it down, refill by May. Peace, cut nothing. Small joys keep couples from getting expensive. Cheryl set down her purse like it finally learned manners. I can cover a piece, she said. No speeches, just a receipt. Thank you, I said. We'll accept with a handle. Memo roof reserve, amount fixed, no surprises, she nodded. Handle attached, we paid our share, not the streets, the roof got its dignity. The family kept its verbs. We added a page to the binder. Special assessments, no panic loans. No new credit lines, just this once, squeeze today. Borrow from soon with a date, protect peace. If someone helps, it comes with a memo, not a leash. That weekend, daycare hosted Family Picture Day. I came to carry codes and keep sentences from falling over. The photographer smiled at the baby like a man who knows his lens is good, but her eyes are better. Any posting restrictions? He asked. Thank you for asking, Chura said. Already relaxed. Email proofs, no public use. Perfect, he said and meant it. Consent looks good on professionals. We took to sets, one with all of us, one with the grandmothers as bookends. Cheryl squeezed my hand like truce is a habit now. On the way home, we stopped at the print shop. I ordered a frame with a mat that left room for 3 lines. At my table, I wrote, Love cooks. Control assigns. Ask first. Not today. Warm food. Firm rules. I slid the photo under the glass. It looked like a policy that had learned to smile. Monday tried another small test. Spam text to the group thread, click here to verify daycare autopay. The link wore a suit that didn't fit. Andre wrote peaches? To the thread. No peaches, no click. We called the real office, who sighed and sent a warning. Ms. Rivera asked for a copy of our phone policy for the lobby. Laminated truth travels well. Spring tiptoed in with mud and hope. The baby found her laugh. It bounced off our walls and improved the paint. We hosted a tiny Sunday stew for 3 neighbors who'd borrowed sugar and learned to return the cup. And a story. At the door, each person tapped the ASK first plaque like you touch 'em, as is a habit that protects a house. After the dishes, Andre leaned on the counter. Mama, I used to think peace meant nothing happened, and now, I asked. Now it means things happen, and we already know what we do. That's architecture, I said. You can hang a life on it. Before bed, I opened the notebook under the sugar bowl, the one fat with earned sentences, and gave February its page. Titles don't carry babies. Codes and consent do. If a problem says hurry, make it slow down and show its math. A roof is not a crisis if a family knows its verbs. Picture day looks best when boundaries are in the frame. I slid the page into the stack, set the deadbolt, click amen. Cracked the window for the weather to practice. And slept like a woman whose front door and family keep meaning what they say, asterisk. Spring didn't announce itself. It asked first. The air softened, the baby learned to clap. And our front doors remembered their manners. Ms. Rivera hung a small frame in the lobby, 6 lines on one page. The access policy we'd hammered together over coffee and common sense. People grumbled for a day, then slept like they paid the bill on time. That's how good rules work, quiet as a well-oiled hinge dot at home. Our binder got fat on useful pages and thin on drama. The tabs read like a map. Emergency. House rules. Phone. Pickup. Money. Guests. Holidays. Nothing fancy. Just sentences that had earned their keep. Love cooks. Control assigns. Ask first. Not today is complete. Keys are tools. Doors are promises. If panic says hurry, Make it show the math. Andre taped a fresh card over his desk, delivered by calendar, not adrenaline. Chura slid a smaller one in the diaper bag pocket where pacifiers go. Consent before cute. Cheryl stuck ask first by her doorbell and meant to the third week as much as the first. Progress, like good cornbread, rises if you stop opening the oven to brag. The baby's laugh found the corners of the rooms and fixed the paint. On Sundays we took turns cooking, no medals, no speeches. If someone forgot a rule, they didn't get scolded. They got a card, a calendar, and a chair. We learned to choose small on purpose, short visits, clear endings, warm food, firm rules. The street noticed. Neighbors borrowed our phrases the way folks borrow sugar, and brought them back sweeter. One afternoon the daycare director pulled us aside. "We adopted your pickup policy and your photo rule," she said. Parents stopped arguing at the desk. The room got taller. You could see it in the way teachers said names like they were being trusted with futures, not managed by titles. When taxes came, our no maximizing their robs tomorrow's honesty cards saved us from clever. When the hoe found a second leak, the special assessment page kept us from borrowing panic. When a cousin texted a last-minute plan, the doorbell plaque did the talking. We didn't become peaceful by accident. We wrote it down, taped it up, cooked it hot, and let not today protect tomorrow until it learned to knock. On a blue sky evening that smelled like rain, thinking twice, we hung one last frame in the hallway, a photo from family picture day, to grandmothers as bookends. A son and his wife holding a child who will grow up thinking doorbells were always sacred. Under the mat, 3 lines in my hand, warm food. Firm rules. Ask first. Answer kindly. Keep your receipts, your calendar, and your peace. We stood there longer than people stand for pictures. No music, no applause. Just the quiet pride of a room that fits the life inside it later. When the kettle sang its small amen, I opened the notebook under the sugar bowl, my private library of earned sentences, and wrote the last one the story needed. We tuned our house, not the world. And the world, hearing it, lowered its voice at our door. I slid the page into the stack, set the deadbolt, cracked the window, and slept like a woman whose yes and no live on the same shelf and whose family knows exactly where the handle is. Delilah Carter, Aunt Lila *.